Welcome. I'm about a season behind, so it's way past due for another comment roundup, Fall 2019 edition. Merrill. Matt Richards says, Solace Fried, or Friend, was a spirit of wisdom that got corrupted when forced against its will. What if Keeper Merithari forced Merrill's spirit against its will and corrupted it into pride? It would have made sense that Merrill would have consorted with Wisdom Spirit for knowledge. And then Obsidian Bluck says, it's strongly implied that this is what happened, that Merithari went into the cave expecting to see a demon, and as such, that is what she got. Her preconceptions twisted it into a pride demon. So, this is a good theory, and I actually like it a lot, and I kind of wish this is what actually happened. But sorry, Obsidian Bluck, I have no idea what you mean when you say it's strongly implied. I don't get that feeling at all. Merrill is very open that she talked to a demon, calling what she talked to both demon and spirit at times, but also saying that she doesn't believe the line is as clear as what the chantry makes it out to be. But from the short story that's released on Merrill and set before we actually meet her in Dragon Age 2, this spirit trapped in the cave calls itself Audacity, which is the same name it uses when you fight it in the last act when it's a demon. Now, granted, Merithari is there both times when it calls itself Audacity. However, I think it'd be much more likely that if it was corrupted, it would have been so long ago, back when it was bound to the statue. Screaming Meat says, what I find most odd is that Merithari apparently knew the whole time that the demon was going to use the mirror to escape and kill or possess Merrill, and yet instead of being straight with her and telling her this, instead chooses to be vague, turn the clan against Merrill, and ultimately force Merrill into self-exile, all while patronizing her. Literally every bad thing and decision in Merrill's life and Kirkwall could have been avoided if Keeper Merithari just fucking talked. To be honest, I think this is a large part of what bothers me about Merrill's personal quest in Dragon Age 2. Merithari plays a concerned role in the first act, but literally every action of hers afterwards just doesn't make sense to me. And personally, it doesn't come off in a way where Merithari is supposed to be acting like that, but more that it's just something the writers wanted her to do so Merrill could have conflict in her story. This is all probably due to crunch and development, but there is just so much wasted potential here, it just hurts. So here's where I would like to collect all of the comments on people who don't like Merrill but like Solus are hypocritical and sexist, because I find a lot of them just throw the baby out with the bathwater, and it just drives me nuts. And also some of them were directed at me, which, not all of them, I will say. And this is all just due because I opened the video with the joke saying I don't respect Merrill's life choices, which I get it. But some of you knew where I was coming from, so that's that. Anyway, I mentioned this in one of the comment chains, but there are plenty of people who don't like Merrill for reasons that have nothing to do with her beliefs in spirits and blood magic. For example, I don't like Merrill for her personality. The constant lack of confidence in social situations and apologizing just gets on my nerves. Not to mention that, as we just mentioned, her story is just very sloppy. Solus literally has the exact opposite to this, so I find him much more enjoyable to interact with in-game. Just not liking Merrill but liking Solus doesn't make you some strange sexist, guys. Come on. We're better than this. Now, on the other side, I do get where some of these people are coming from, but at the same time, I have seen way more people complaining about people who don't like Merrill but like Solus for sexist reasons other than people who actually think like that. Ghosts. Bridget Crow says, maybe I missed it, but I'm a little surprised lyrium ghosts weren't at least mentioned in passing. Well, I didn't bring it up because I almost consider it to be a separate topic. The name of lyrium ghosts is technically a fan-made one to refer to whatever Liliana is in Inquisition if she was killed in Origins. The title itself is based on Fenris' skill tree from Dragon Age 2, which I think might have been retconned to be Blue Wraith now with the comic, but that's something else. Anyway, really all that we know is this. The lyrium sang thought into being, now time is stale, and the melody is called elsewhere. Until I am needed, I am free. The topic of the video centered around the souls of the dead and what they disbelieves, and this is something else. While this lyrium construct took the form of Liliana, I don't really see any hint that it was really her soul. At best, it could have been the memories of a dying woman absorbed and made into flesh, which is kind of what Cole is, but with lyrium instead of a fade spirit, so that's something to ponder. Possession. The Masked Bard says, I always thought that Flemeth died because her unnaturally long life was tied to Mythal, so when Mythal was taken away, there was nothing that could keep Flemeth alive anymore. Okay, so in the video, I make the argument that when we see Flemeth die, because Solas did whatever he did to her and her death was caused by taking out the spirit fragment of Mythal, that her soul had been so intertwined with Mythal's that ripping it in two caused her death. This commenter, and honestly actually a few others, make the argument that if Flemeth were younger, she wouldn't have actually died, and her turning black is us seeing the years catch up to her. And honestly, I'm not sure. Even in the data mine notes of this scene, it isn't really explained, and I actually think this is a valid interpretation of what happened, so something to keep in mind. Taiga738 says, no mention of the Seekers of Truth. The whole thing with the Archdemons seems like it may relate to possession in general, too. In their case, the forceful possession of a Grey Warden destroys both because the Wardens are unwilling, but the Archdemon can't abort the attempted possession. Maybe a spirit/demon can harm themselves just as much as their potential host if there's enough resistance. So I didn't mention the Seekers because I don't actually think they are possessed during their ritual, although the information we have is literally just one line from Cassandra, so who knows. To expand a bit, in Inquisition it's revealed that the Seekers are basically made tranquil and through a vigil are able to summon a spirit of faith to touch their mind, as Cassandra says. The way it's phrased sounds like the spirit just pokes them, like it literally just says touch their mind and reconnects their attachment to the Fade, and it doesn't really say that they are possessed by a spirit, so that's why I didn't really mention it. We don't really know if they are or not. On the Archdemon point, however, that probably should have been something I brought up. So far, everyone in the series that has been possessed has agreed to it at one point, minus the Grey Wardens and Archdemons, which does destroy both. Now, there may be an argument that because the old god souls are something unknown to us and might be special in some sense, that it would be considered something else, but that's all theory, so thanks for pointing it out. Ghilan'nain. So this is probably the first time this has happened, and I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this in the future because it's going to be a big problem on this channel when the next game comes out. But now that Tevinter Nights is out, I feel like I have to update the video in a sense. I do go over this more in the first Book Emporium video where I go over the short story Horror of Hormak, so for more details check that out. But in short, Ghilan'nain got a lot more creepy. I do want to say that's never confirmed to be Ghilan'nain, but there are a lot of hollow horns involved, so I think it's probably likely. Basically, Grey Wardens found strange elven ruins under the Dwarven Tig Hormak. These ruins, and I say ruins, but they were actually very well preserved, contained a mural that led to a room of grey goop that smelled like the sea and was powered by some sort of lyrium crystal that was tinted yellow-green and mashed up darkspawn animals and even humans to create these strange monsters. The mural itself showed three main images, one of elven kings and queens hating their subjects, one of elven mages making people sick, and a third of elves and prison Aravels being dragged along by twisted Hela to 12 different mountains. Here's also where I mentioned there are 12 major Tigs in the Dwarven Kingdom, one of which was Hormak. So it seems that Ghilan'nain was twisting these people into monster things for reasons unknown, and she seemed to be pleased by it, as shown in some cave paintings. This leaves us with a lot more questions than answers, honestly, but I think it's becoming clear that Ghilan'nain wasn't a good guy, at least by the end of her reign. Mysterious Elven Mosaics. Before I get into the comments, some of you might be wondering if anyone ever stepped forward with images or anything about seeing the murals in their game. I did have one person claim they saw it on their PS4 version, but no images were presented and no other information given after I contacted them. So to this point, I want to say maybe they just misremembered it. So sadly, no updates on what it could be. Scott Jones says, the only thing I can think of having different mosaics would be for is if there are other codex entries that comes with them. Perhaps it may be better to instead look for cut codex entries that could linking to the mosaics, because doing different things to trigger them, yet still giving us the same info back at us wouldn't help us much in understanding their meaning. It could be possible finding whatever is triggering it may give certain codex entries, or leave go further clues. I'm sorry, I don't know what that last sentence means. But I did want to include this, because it's actually a good idea. However, it was something that we checked and nothing was found in the files. Now, the files in Inquisition can be a bit messy, however, so if you want to try your hand and look for them, be my guest. I just want to include that this was something that was tried and our attempts failed. Phoenix Wolf says, isn't the symbol in Inquisition for the Dalish a mask thing? I always thought it was weird because the Orlais should be known mask because, you know, and wow, congrats! This is also the video I announced I was pregnant, by the way. And then Aluis Vera replies, that's a very good point. The Dalish have always had this mask to represent them for no apparent reason, even in the first game. I didn't connect these masks with the Dalish one, but it is true that the heraldry being a mask of leaves is never really explained in the game, and it's one of the few design choices that has carried over from Origins to now. Sadly, I'm not sure what this brings but more questions, but if this is a fourth mask that created the Dalish branch of people, I don't know. Kossith. Mystic on the Hill says, by the way, animism is the belief that the natural world are beings, not necessarily the worship of animals. So in the video, I goofed and said animism was the worship of animals. That's my bad. Thank you for pointing it out. Sveta45851 says, honestly, I only heard the term from Iron Bull and the Arishok from Dragon Age 2 saying that they were the first original Qunari, and maybe Sten that one time at camp in Dragon Age Origins. Okay, so I wanted to point this comment out because I've heard so many like it, and I feel like I stumbled upon the Dragon Age version of the Mandela effect. I also thought Sten mentioned the Kossith, but he doesn't. I watched tons of videos of all of his dialogues, even had someone look into the game files for the script to see if it was mentioned, with no luck at all. Other people I talked to could have sworn that the Arishok mentioned it as well, but I've never found any dialogue with him saying anything about them at all. All of the uses I found in the entire series I put in the video, and it's shockingly little compared to what I thought it was. So if you can produce a video of Sten or the Arishok saying anything about the Kossith, I would be eternally grateful, because I actually don't think it exists, even though so many people think it does. It's actually kind of amazing. And that's all I have. Do you still have lingering questions, proof that I'm wrong, comments about your own fan theory? Feel free to tweet me at Gilderthon on Twitter or send a PM to user Ghilan'nain on Reddit. The rest are all.